my name is Ryan. I'm normally here with my brother Daniel, but today I'm going to be reviewing a kids game that I have a little bit more experience with, and that is Magic Mountain, a cooperative game of sending marbles down a plinko-like board, trying to get all of your students to the bottom of the mountain before too many witches get there. I've got a link in the description below if you want to check it out for yourself, but let's jump into the review. In Magic Mountain, your students begin the game at the top of the mountain with some scattered witches standing between them and reaching the bottom. On your turn, you will randomly draw a colored marble representing a will-o'-the-wisp that will guide your students down the sloped board. You must pick one of the 6 slots at the top of the mountain to drop the marble and watch as it randomly bounces its way down the mountain. Whenever the marble gets stuck behind one of your students, you get to move that student along the path to the next space that matches the color of the marble. But watch out, if the marble gets stuck behind a witch, they will move in the same way and get closer to reaching the bottom of the mountain first. There's also an element of speed with moving the figures, because if you move to the new space fast enough, you could potentially trap the marble behind the same student and have the opportunity to move them again. Once the marble reaches the bottom of the mountain, it is the next player's turn, returning the marbles to the bag if all 5 have been drawn. This process continues until either the players win with enough students reaching the bottom, depending on the difficulty setting, or they lose because 3 witches reach the bottom of the mountain first. With some help, I believe that kids as young as 3 can enjoy Magic Mountain. They may not understand the strategy and need some help identifying the next matching space on the path, but with a little guidance, they can fully participate and learn as they play. There's no reading in the game, so really the only prerequisite is color recognition and a basic understanding of turns and game structure. Compared to other kids' games, Magic Mountain's plinko-like mechanisms appeal to a wide range of ages, and I think that kids up to age 8 could really enjoy it. Older kids may grow tired of it a little more quickly, but it isn't a game that is outgrown as quickly as many other children's games. One thing to note is that the game does include 5 standard-size marbles, so they are a choking hazard and you'll want to be careful when playing with younger kids. There is such a tangible and visual unpredictability in watching the marble bounce its way down the mountain that kids find very exciting. There are many times when the marble could bounce either to a student or a witch, eliciting audible groans or cheers based on the result. The game also has a nice arc as the tension ramps up as you near the end. As the witches get closer and closer to the bottom, it gets trickier to avoid them, since there is more room for your marble to stray from where you dropped it at the top of the mountain. This increases the chances of exciting moments as players try to get their last students to the end, while the witches may be in difficult positions. Whenever a student needs to move to a colored space that isn't shown on the remaining path, they instead safely reach the bottom of the mountain. Since it usually takes kids a little longer to see that this is the case, there is a moment of excitement when they realize that they get to move the student to the bottom. It is a little thing, but it's nice to have intermediate goals that the kids are excited to achieve. Unlike many children's games where elements that kids find fun are a little more boring for adults, Magic Mountain is a game that adults enjoy for almost all the same reasons. Watching the path of randomly bouncing marbles is fun, and unpredictability is a great way to keep kids' games fresh for adults. But randomness alone won't make it interesting for adults, as evidenced by many classic children's games that rely solely on luck. However, the combination of weighing the probabilities of marble movement and the unique distribution of figures on the board means that it is often intriguing to decide which slot is best to place your marble. And it's a small thing, but with a game that appeals to a broad range of ages, it is nice that it is so easy to adjust the difficulty. Simply select a level that will determine how many students are required to win and how many witches would cause you to lose. The game also includes a competitive variant where one team is trying to move the witches and the other team is moving the students. I can't speak to this variant from personal experience, but it does sound like it would be a fun way to play. Magic Mountain is a game that requires reasoning about the very physical process of a marble rolling down the board. Kids repeatedly have the opportunity to think, if I want the marble to hit this student, which slot at the top will make that most likely? But the board doesn't just have a single student you are trying to hit, and there are often nearby witches or other students that shift the probabilities or risk for that area of the board. This provides a very organic way for kids to better understand the 50-50 probabilities of each fork in the road, and the way that sequential 50-50 probabilities can stack to cause the marble to either drift far from where it was dropped or alternate in a way that follows a roughly straight path. Particularly for younger kids, the simple process of following the path to find the next matching colored space is a good mental exercise. I think the fact that the marbles travel straight down but the path winds horizontally makes it a little less intuitive to kids and presents a positive challenge. In a perfect world, every forking path in Magic Mountain would be a perfect 50-50 split. However, rarely is the surface you are playing on perfectly flat, and even the slightest difference can cause the marbles to be heavily biased in one direction or the other. This can dampen the fun since the experience really hinges on that unpredictability, and I often find myself making little adjustments during the game by folding the plastic bags under the stands to try to make the board more even. There isn't a lot that is different from game to game, and while the movement of the students and the witches will always create unique arrangements, it can still feel a bit samey after a lot of plays. This will likely be more true the older the players are, but I could see some players getting to the point where they feel like they've seen everything they want to see out of the game. And now let's get to my personal rating for Magic Mountain. So obviously, I'm going to be rating Magic Mountain as a kids game, which really combines those factors of how much do kids have fun playing it, how much can adults have fun playing it, as well as what things it teaches in the game, and how does that just all come together into a rating for me personally. And I'm going to be giving Magic Mountain an 8 out of 10. I think it is a very strong kids game. I think it feels very different than a lot of other kids games. It's got kind of this novelty factor with the whole marbles going down the board. And it just has gone over really well. It plays a wide player count up to 6 players, so it's easy to kind of play with a wide range of not only more players, but different age groups. I think it works really well. And I've had a lot of fun playing it with my son. I think the biggest thing that maybe keeps it out of the top tier of kids games for me is really just the flatness, right? The keeping the fairness of the ball going down the board. It is, I mean, every time I'm playing it, I'm making all kinds of adjustments to try to keep it from always, it's always drifting right. Okay, I got to get that back a little bit. It's just a little tedious, and like the pure game design to the actual physical implementation just breaks down a little bit because of that. It's hard in the physical world to keep that perfect 50-50 balance. But it's a little thing. It doesn't bring the game down a lot for me. And I think for a lot of people, this is one worth checking out. I think the game box actually says like 5 and up or something. I've been playing it with my 3-year-old even a little bit before he was 3. We actually went into our local game store. It was right after it won the Kinderspiel, which is the German children's game of the year. And I saw it that they happened to have it there. And even though I knew my son probably wasn't ready for it yet, I was like, oh, maybe we'll pick it up. We'll try it. Worst case, we save it until he is ready. And I was actually very surprised how well it went with, a kid that was much younger than what's advertised in the box. Now, granted, my son had still played quite a few board games at that point, so he was pretty familiar with a lot of the gaming concepts. But there isn't a lot here that's asked of the kid, right? Like there's no reading or anything. It's a cooperative game, so you're working together. And you're just dropping the marbles at the top, and then whenever you need to move something, it's just, okay, where on the path is the next one of that color? And you can kind of help them with that. And I definitely gravitate more to the side of pushing my son a little bit with the games we play, because I think it's a great learning opportunity. And, I feel like I maybe have more patience than some might have to kind of work with him on some of these things. But we've had a lot of fun playing it. Like I said, I think that one of the biggest selling points is how different it is from other kids games. Like it is really a fresh experience. So 8 out of 10 is my rating, but is Magic Mountain a game that you and your kids might enjoy? If you are looking for a kids game that has a lot of variability or lacks any choking hazards, then maybe pass or at least wait on Magic Mountain. But if you want a kids game that has more of a focus on probability and risk assessment while still having exciting moments and appealing to a wide range of ages, then Magic Mountain is definitely a game that you should check out. Hey, thanks for watching. Like I said, I've got the link to Magic Mountain in the description below if you want to check it out for yourself. If you enjoyed the video, maybe consider subscribing to the channel for more kids board game content or other board game content in general. We actually here have linked another video I did counting down my top board games for 2-year-olds. So really that earliest category of getting your kids into games. So maybe check that out as well, and we will see you in the next one.